Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, it is one of the brightest and hottest days here in London. And I'm sure a lot of the brothers and sisters are really, really feeling, let's say, the hunger or the struggle, the test of the fast. And inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are rewarded for your struggles and for your hardship. And inshallah, there's only a couple more days to go, and sooner or later, inshallah, we'll be celebrating Eid. I'm your host, Muslim, inshallah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. I hope you're not feeling too hot, but where I am, it is absolutely baking. MashaAllah. Sheikh, we've been doing a lot of discussions on different parts of Ramadan and fasting, and we were talking about Zakat al-Fitrah. And, we were discussing different elements of the Zakat and so forth. So another question came to mind is that, is it righteous or being adil? So righteousness and being adil. Is this a criteria for disposal of Zakat al-Fitrah?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. It is not mandatory and wajib as a requirement to give Zakat al-Fitrah to a pauper or the poor individual who is righteous or adil, which means one who adheres to the commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal and Islam and do not commit disobedience or sins. However, as a precaution, as a ihtiyat, we can say ihtiyat wujubi, obligatory precaution, it should not be given, the Zakat al-Fitrah, to the individuals who insist on the sins. Let's say they drink alcohol, na'udhu billah, or they commit sins openly, na'udhu billah, disobedience to Allah Azza wa Jalla, openly basically. Those individuals, the one should not give them Zakat of Fitrah, even if they are poor and they are in need of it. But because they are committing openly sins, such as adultery, na'udhu billah, alcohol drinking. Now the hijab issue, if the woman has no hijab, is that also considered as an open practice of disobedience? Also, we have to consider that if she needs money, for example, can we give her? We have to go back to the alim and the scholars and ask. But in overall, it can be given to those who are in need. It doesn't matter. But if they are openly committing sins, of course, we have to be, as a precaution, not to give to them Zakat al-Fitr.
Okay. Sheikh, is it obligatory to pay Zakat al-Fitr on behalf of one who used to break his fast with something haram, or he did not fast all the days of Ramadan?
Yes, it is obligatory to give Zakat al-Fitr on this individual. Of course, if he's the dependent of this individual, as a dependent, yes, of course, the one should give, in this case, Zakat al-Fitr, because he's fasting at the end of the day. Well, some of the days he's mukallaf, he's actually practicing some of the obligatory acts, although he's committing sins, but because now he's dependent then of this individual, he needs to pay him on behalf of him the Zakat al-Fitr.
Sheikh, we discussed before of an individual who is self-sufficient. We did the father-son relationship, and the son lives in his father's flat, but he has his own his own earnings and so forth, and he's quite independent and stuff. But let's change that scenario where we have an individual who, let's like maybe a university student or a young individual who's working. They have their father's property where they are working, let's say Birmingham, and they do their work, and they come back for the weekend to their family home. Now, let's say for Ramadan, they decided to take a month off work and they'll come home and spend the whole Ramadan with their family. Does this individual have to pay Zakat al-Fitr for themselves, or is it obligatory upon the father to pay Zakat al-Fitr upon this person, as this person has returned home for the month of Ramadan?
Well, if the son of this father is considered to be as a dependent, on his father by the norms, by the urf. The urf says that now the son became dependent on his father. So they can see that he's paying all the costs, the lunch, the dinner, or let's say the iftar, suhoor, has been paid by the father. He's feeding him every day and night. If he becomes, by the norms, as dependent, then the zakat al-fitrah will be obligatory upon the father to pay it. But if by the norms again, by the urf, if he wasn't considered to be as a dependent on his father, he just comes maybe, as I've said, once or twice a week to have iftar with them, and he leaves then. But he actually spent on himself, on his suhoor, on his futur, on his journeys. In this case, no, it becomes upon the son to pay his own zakat al-fitrah. So it depends. If he's under the expenditures and spending of his father, then his father pays. If it's his own and independent spendings and expenditures, then he has to pay his own zakat al-fitrah.
Ahsant. Sheikh, got a question that's been emailed in, and a quick reminder to our viewers that if you have a question you'd like to send it via the WhatsApp or via the email address, and you can call in if you want as well, and inshallah me and the Sheikh will be more than happy to discuss your question. Details should be over there. Sheikh, according to His Eminence Ayatollah Ishaq al-Fiyad, what is his opinion on a non-Muslim employee? So we've got a Muslim who has a non-Muslim driver, and the Muslim pays for his monthly salary and his accommodation and so forth. Is it mandatory upon him to pay zakat al-fitrah on that non-Muslim employee, according to His Eminence Ayatollah Ishaq al-Fiyad?
Yes, His Eminence mentions that it is mandatory upon the individual to pay zakat al-fitrah if he was, i.e. the employee was dependent. So if the employee was dependent on his employer, then the employer or the business owner needs to pay his zakat al-fitrah, because he's now dependent on him. However, this issue, I tried to look at the views of the ulama, like Ayatollah Sistani. He would say no, it has to be half-half. So half to be paid by the employer or the business owner, and the other half would be paid by the employee himself. Because the thing is, he's getting a monthly salary from the company, but the accommodation is with the company or with the business owner, for example. So he's getting somehow the money, but also accommodation is paid by the company. So Ayatollah Sistani would say no, it's going to be half-half, shared. In other words, shared zakat al-fitrah. But Ayatollah Fayad would say no, if he was dependent on his company's employer or business owner, then they have to pay the zakat al-fitrah.
I see. MashaAllah. Sheikh, what about when it comes to the issue of Sayyids and non-Sayyids? So someone who is non-Sadat, can he pay zakat al-fitrah to a Sayyid or a Sayyidah?
It is not permissible as a precaution, as ihtiyat, for one who is not Sayyid to give his zakat to a Sayyid. And that's why I say this, I mention this every year, that's what we have in the mosques. Sadly this year we can't go anymore for the Eid al-Salah and so forth.
Yes.
But when you go to the mosque, you would see that there are two boxes. One box says zakat al-fitrah for the Sayyids, and the second box, it says zakat al-fitrah for the non-Sayyids. So the Sayyid would pay the zakat al-fitrah for the Sayyids, and the non-Sayyids would put the zakat al-fitrah or pay the zakat al-fitrah for the non-Sayyids. So each boxes are separate. So you have to make sure that if you're not Sayyid, you pay to the non-Sayyid. If you're a Sayyid, you pay to the Sayyids, poor and pauper.
Yes, Ahsant. Sheikh, the one who does not pay khums, does he need to pay khums before payment of zakat al-fitrah? And can we take the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid al-Khoi, rahmatullah alayhi?
Yes, indeed, he needs to deduct the khumus from the zakat al-fitrah
First.
what is the value of whatever is the amount of the Zakat al-Fitrah, he takes out khumus, 1/5 or 20%, and then he pays later on the Zakat al-Fitrah.
Okay. Sheikh, a question from the WhatsApp, and it is, are we allowed to spend the child's personal wealth for other purposes? Now, I'm not sure what the detail is, whether the child is earning money or the child is receiving some benefit from the government or something, or some sort of grant. I'm not sure what's going on here. But let's just say the child has his own personal wealth. Can it be spent in other places?
It is permissible to spend the wealth of the child to buy the necessity items for the child, such as food, drinking, and clothing, and other disposable products for the child that is needed. That's fine. This is the property of the child. However, it is not permissible to, let's say, if the parents want to spend part of his money to give it as a gift or to buy, I don't know, food or anything else to another person. They're not allowed. This money is only for the spending for this child. Nobody can take this money and spend it on themselves for own interest or even to give it to other people. So it's only for the child's purposes. Of course, when it comes to the daily future, of course, you're gonna spend the money. At the end of the day, you have expenses, tickets, flights, transport. Of course, the child will be with you as well in terms of flying and so forth. So yes, that's gonna be with. You can actually take from the child's wealth, but to solely and just take it and without spending on the child itself and his needs is problematic.
Excellent. Sheikh, if a young man treated his parents unkindly and they died while they were not content with him and he regretted that afterwards, what should he do?
Initially, he needs to seek forgiveness for them from Allah Azza wa Jal. I think there's a verse in the Holy Quran that we recite sometimes in the salah, in the qunut, or as a dua. I think there's a line dua as well in dua Abi Hamza Thamali where the Imam speaks to Allah Azza wa Jal, Allahumma ghafir li wa liwaliday warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira ijzihma bil ihsani ihsana wa bis sayyiati ghufrana. There's a dua, there's a Quran mentioning that we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to ask forgiveness for ourselves and for our parents, and to lower our, to be humble with them, as the Quran mentions as well with this regard. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness, and also we should do good deeds and a'mal and charitable deeds and a'mal as-salihah, and we send it to their graves or to their place in which they are residing, and of course the a'mal as-salihah would reach them in the hereafter. And even now, if they are alive, still we can make dua for them, we send rewards for them, we go to the ziyarah, we pray 2 rak'ah on their behalf. If they're alive, still the rewards and the ziyarah would be, and dua would be counted for them, and it would reach them, of course.
Excellent, inshallah. Sheikh, a question again from the WhatsApp. A Kitabi woman who is separated from her husband for a long time without a legal divorce in court and without a formal divorcing according to their creed, under such circumstances, is it permissible for a Muslim man to marry such a woman?
You see, Islam in overall has a rule which says that, or the basis, and that's known as Qa'adatul Ilzam, that I would consider alzimuhum, we consider their nikah contract, we would consider and appreciate their contracts. So if the separation in this case, in this scenario, is not considered in their faith and creed as divorce, it's just a separation and they don't want to talk to each other, for example, and there's no divorce, not in church or in the court, for example. In this case, well, nobody can actually allow to marry this lady unless she's formally or according to their creed, she's divorced. So just separation would not allow us, even if she wasn't Muslim, to marry her. Of course, we can't get married except to the Ahl Kitab. So non-Ahl Kitab is we're not allowed to marry.
I see. Sheikh, question from the WhatsApp again. Now with this lockdown, how can youth get married if they are stuck at home? Thank you. I'm assuming this person is, because in certain circumstances, it is wajib for someone to get married. So let's say this person, it's wajib for this person to get married, but we're in lockdown, we're in quarantine, we can't go out and network and meet people and so forth. How can youth get married if they are stuck at home?
Well, initially, there is no Shari'i or legal right or legal legislation, There's no Shari'i or legal law which says to you, you're not allowed to leave your house or doorstep. People are still in that, especially the past 3-4 weeks. They used to leave and go out for their essential needs, shoppings, and so forth. And if the marriage, of course, was a requirement, was the essential, the need, then of course the one can actually go out and maybe talk over the phone with the people, proposals and so forth. And of course, by taking care and respecting all the measures, health measures and so forth, and to be sure that the other family or that individual has no issues with the virus and so forth. So yes, it's part of the essentials. If somebody sees that it's essential, then one should go for it. And as I've said, by taking all the measures, one still can get married in such crucial time. Of course, the one should avoid public gathering, weddings, all the ceremonies. It can even be done between both parties. The boy and the girl, the woman and the man. That should be fine. Just themselves, they do the aqd. They talk over the phone with the alim. He does the aqd, the nikah contract over the phone, and they can be alone in that, that place away from the people. In terms of the aqd and so forth. After the aqd, of course, they can be alone, and they're now married couples, which is halal for them. So yes, if things were all fine, then the ones can get married.
Ahsan. Sheikh, our final question for this evening, and I think it's this. Maybe it's a bit too late, but there's still some days left of Ramadan, which is important, and that is, can you mention any du'as to reflect on? Eid most likely being Sunday, Monday. Let us, fully take advantage of the last few moments we have of Ramadan. A nice du'a to reflect on, Sheikhna.
There's a daily du'a that is mentioned in Mafatih Jannah and other books of du'a. A very short du'a for every day. So day 1 du'a of the holy month of Ramadan, day 2 and so forth. And it's no more than 1.5-2 lines max. So today's du'a, day 26 of the month of Ramadan, the du'a says, Allahumma ja'al sa'yi fihi mashkura. Oh Allah, decide my efforts to be praiseworthy. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have these efforts that we try to do in this holy month to be praiseworthy. It's worth it. And to get the rewards. Then he says in the dua, وَذَنْبِي فِيهِ مَغْفُورًا, and my sins to be forgiven. So there's efforts to be praiseworthy and my sins to be forgiven. The next part, وَعَمَلِي فِيهِ مَشْكُورًا, and my deeds to be accepted. The deeds, the salat, the siyam, the recitation of the Holy Quran to be accepted with no riyah, with no showing off or any kind of heart illnesses in which we might, show that to the people. So وَعَمَلِ فِيهِ مَقْبُولًا, and then وَعَيْبِ فِيهِ مَسْتُورًا, and my defects to be concealed. My wrongdoings, my defects, my mistakes to be concealed. I don't want to be shown to the public that I've got this defect or this mistake, and so forth. And finally, Ya Asma' as-Sami'in, all the most hearing of all those who can hear. What we ask Allah Azza wa Jal, the one who hear us without an ear, without any organ
Mhm.
to answer our call and dua and invocation in this holy month by, praiseworthy the efforts, by accepting our repentance, by accepting our deeds, and to conceal our defects and mistakes. May Allah gives us all the blessings of this holy month and the remaining days of the holy month to be able to achieve all these lines in the dua, in which we leave this holy month with blessing, with forgiveness, and with the most important is the itq min al-nar, is to be freed from the hellfire, inshallah.
Ahsan. Thank you so much, Sheikhna, for your efforts. Thank you to all the viewers for joining us. Inshallah, we'll be back tomorrow at 6:30. If you have a question you'd like to ask, then contact us on the WhatsApp, on the email, or alternatively, you can call us. And inshallah, the Sheikh will be more than happy to discuss your question. Details should be over there. But until tomorrow, inshallah, you guys keep safe. Enjoy your iftar. Keep us in your du'as. And inshallah, keep watching Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.